Set 9 is finally here, and with it comes a fresh cast of units with one of the highest amounts of viable comps on day 1 we've ever seen. With such a wide variety of meta, flexibility is rewarded as you climb your way up the ladder. So what have I been playing to climb on day 1? One single comp. That's right. Get ready to drop bows on him, because it's time for an in-depth guide on Garen Reroll. I top 4'd every game I played with this comp on day 1, and it is so darn easy.
Oh, free boost.
Alright, bet. You want a comp that requires minimal brain power and positioning that you can play every single game? Look no further. My name's Delantix, I'm a Grandmaster player from NA, and I'm going to go through all of this to show you how you should play Garen now! Garen charges into set 9 as Demacian Juggernaut. Demacia turns the strongest Demacian into an elite, giving them a different Radiant item they can use each turn if an item slot is open. Radiant items have increased stats and a more powerful or new effect. Juggernaut champions take less damage as their health decreases, with up to 50% damage reduction at 6 Juggernauts. Now, Garen himself is the Beyblade. He spins an amount of times per second based on his attack speed for 4 seconds, dealing physical damage to all nearby enemies. Each spin does damage based on his AD, so you want a ton of attack speed to give him the most spins. Here's the board you can force every game at level 7, where you'll be rolling for 3-star Garen. Notice Garen's items. Garen absolutely needs his trusty Rageblade to stack up his attack speed for more spins, and also needs a lifesteal item, namely Bloodthirster. Make sure you always leave that third slot open so he can get the free Radiant item, as his stats are superior to regular ones. The rest of our components are all going to Zeke's, which each give Garen bonus attack speed. You should try to go for 4 Zeke's Herald total, with 5 and 6 being pretty worth it. Make as many as you can with the components until the last round of components at 4-7. How do we get all these Zeke's every game? Easy. Pick Twisted Fate as your legend. You're guaranteed to get one form of Pandora's box at 2-1, which rerolls the components on your bench each turn. Since you're guaranteed to be offered some form of Pandora's items, you can play this comp almost every single game. The last round of components dropped is Raptors at stage 4, and after that you get full items, so roll components until you finish the Zeke's. The positioning of this comp is super easy, just put everyone in a line, making sure Garen gets Zeke's on both sides. You can get away with not moving your board at all for most fights, since Garen is just that tanky. I'll talk about some exceptions to this at the end of the video. Now, you might be thinking, hey, I saw this all over PBE already, didn't it get bug fix nerfed? Well, the nerfs weren't nearly enough, and I'm going to let you in on my secret tech, URGOT. URGOT is a tanky beast with his ability giving him tons of damage and a huge shield. He gains the Zon trait with Warwick, creating a random CHEM-MOD. Disregard which one you get and always put it on your URGOT. After 5 or 6 Zeke's, start itemizing URGOT. He'll usually be taking leftover items from Carousel or Neutrals, but if you want to go for perfect items on URGOT, it's going to be any lifesteal item, Last Whisper, and the Juggernaut Emblem if you have it, or Titan's Resolve if you don't. URGOT with Juggernaut 6 is nearly unstoppable, as he outputs so much damage and takes almost none, as while he gets lower, he gets the damage reduction from Juggernaut and then shields himself at that low HP to keep the high damage reduction while he heals back up with lifesteal. URGOT has won me so many rounds on his own and can even solo entire backlines. URGOT fits in smoothly at level 7 with 4 Juggernaut and 3 Demacia, making 2 Zon. A Juggernaut emblem takes this comp to new heights, as on level 7 you can drop URGOT and place it on a frontline Demacian for 6 Juggernaut with Nasus while you roll, preferably putting on J4. After hitting Garen 3-star, go to level 8, hit URGOT 2, and transfer over that Juggernaut spat, replacing the unit you sold with a filler Demacia and eventually J4 again. If you don't have an URGOT but find ZERI, she's also a great holder of Last Whisper and the Zon mod until you find that URGOT. If you don't like playing URGOT, Juggernaut Emblem is already very good on J4, helping you to get more stuns off for Garen to spin and win. With 2 Juggernaut Emblems, you can play 6 Juggernaut and Juggernaut URGOT in level 7, then add in utility units at 8 like Heimerdinger, Senna, or Rise. Here's an endgame board without the Juggernaut emblem. Note that our Demacia fillers are J4 and Kayle. I play Kayle over Lux or Sona because she activates Slayer, which gives Aatrox 15% Omnivamp. In these final boards, you always want to give URGOT the most Zeke's and Aatrox the lesser side, as URGOT is a stronger secondary carry than Aatrox, although Aatrox 2 with items can certainly carry as well. If you do play Heimerdinger in this comp, I always upgrade Mechanoswarm once and Shrink Module twice for both anti-heal and armor or MR Shred, which Garen is usually missing unless you luck into a Last Whisper on URGOT. Armor Shred isn't necessary, but it certainly helps, especially against Bastions. Let's take a deeper look at our legend, Twisted Fate, or TF. TF is one of the best legends right now, with Rageblade being a highly flexible item. TF's guaranteed 2-1 augment is 3 iterations of Pandora's items, where Silver gets you 1 component, Gold gives you 2, and Prismatic gives you a full Radiant item instead. Always take the Silver and Gold Pandoras, which are both super good in the meta right now regardless. The Prismatic one is a little shaky, since you only want 4 Radiant items for this comp, either Rageblade, Bloodthirster, Hand of Justice over BT, or Zeke's. If you're relying on rerolling that Radiant item to force this comp, you only have a 4 out of 35 chance of hitting the jackpot each round, so keep that in mind. If you don't find one of those Radiant items after stage 2, I would consider pivoting to something that can use the Radiant item you have. His second round augments are all variants of item grab bag, which aren't terrible, but aren't that great. There are again full items to roll into, and Zeke's is only one of them, so you much prefer getting components over full items. However, his third round augments are amazing. Silver and Gold teaming up both give 1 Zeke's, while Prismatic gives 2. This is almost always the best choice above all other augments, as each Zeke's makes a huge difference. So let's quickly talk about augments I would take over teaming up. Petricite Shackles and Adrenaline Rush both give Garen a 30% damage increase, which is an exceptional amount. Adrenaline Rush is by far the best augment if you already have a Juggernaut emblem, making your URGOT do incredible amounts of damage. If you're high rolling, high HP, already win streaking and are close to or have Garen 3, take the Golden Egg, because who doesn't want bonus mystery loot? Finally, if you have less than 5 out of 9 Garens, or you're below 30 HP, consider taking Infernal Contract or Think Fast to find Garen 3 quickly and spike your board. You will get outscaled, but you'll likely be able to turn an 8th into a top 4. Do not take Think Fast on 2-1 or 3-2, as you need to be level 7 for good Garen odds, and that's way too expensive at 3-2. Since we're locked in on Pandora's items for our first augment, and mostly locked in for Zeke's on our third, what should we take for the second? Just about any augment that gives your team either combat stats or bonus components for more Zeke's is good. Although this is a reroll comp, we want to avoid economy augments since this comp looks for a hard loss streak into a hard win streak and only needs Garen 3 star to succeed. There are a few exceptions, the first being Pandora's Bench, my favorite augment for this comp. At 3-2, use it to roll every turn for 3 costs to place in Pandora's Bench, which will randomize them each round, helping you to find Garen and get that 2-star power spike much faster, and find Garen 3 later. Army building is good at securing Garen 3, but not as good as Pandora's Bench. Tiny Titans is very helpful as you've likely lost a lot of HP in the early game. Idealism is great, but only take it if you haven't slammed BT on Garen already, or if you have a remover. With a remover, take off the BT and Rageblade and place down the Rageblade back and a Hand of Justice or Hodge on Garen, then roll the BT with Pandora's or save it for URGOT or Aatrox. Idealism makes Hodge worth it to play on Garen, and you can use Pandora's to make a second hand for URGOT or Aatrox, also increasing their damage. Tactician's Tools is also something to consider, as you can use Pandora's items for 2 vests to make 2 Juggernaut emblems. Pandora's won't randomize your spatulas, but they will randomize your emblems, so make sure not to leave them on the bench once you craft them. I would suggest against taking Tome of Traits due to it not being guaranteed, but if you do get one from augments or neutrals, pop it and take Juggernaut or Demacia emblem if offered. If not, use Pandora's Bench to roll your emblem until you get one of those 2. With the Demacia emblem, you can drop 1 Demacia to play 6 Juggernaut, or another utility unit at 7, or play 5 Demacia, making Aatrox or Nasus a Demacian to also give them a Radiant item. Now let's take a step into portals. You can force this comp on almost every portal. Here are some of the best ones you should vote for if you see them. Vandal Cafeteria and Placidium Library are both amazing as they guarantee you a Juggernaut emblem either whole or crafted with the Vandal Spatula. Another fantastic portal is Hearthhome, which lets you upgrade one of your items into a Radiant version on round 4-5. Use this to upgrade your Bloodthirster, as Radiant Bloodthirster has amazing healing and shielding, which is worth more than the bonus attack speed from Radiant Rageblade. Targon Prime is another great pick, as you'll usually be hard lose streaking. You can lose streak until 40 to get the stimulus counter early, and transform any items it gives you with Pandora's items, making you stronger than the rest of the lobby so you can start win streaking. The Summit is fantastic, giving you lesser champion duplicators each stage to secure your Garen 3. Use the later ones to tier up your URGOT or Aatrox. The Dreaming Pool is pretty good, as it will almost always give you a Juggernaut unit at the start of each stage, eventually helping you secure an Aatrox for Juggernaut 6 at the start of stage 5. Godwillow's Grove is not bad, allowing you to fit in a lucky Aatrox for Juggernaut 6 early, or replace a unit with a utility one. You usually want to put Kale in the Grove to activate Demacia and Slayer for Aatrox. I would suggest against playing this comp in these next 2 portals, so if you see any of these, vote with the majority against them. The University and Jace's Workshop both aren't great since they guarantee the first augment to be Prismatic, and Prismatic Pandora's is too risky. The Lavender Sea and Noxcria force you to position out of your line or advantage other teams if you don't use the hexes. Lavender Sea backline bonus is also unusable for this comp, meaning you'll be severely disadvantaged. Immortal Bastion is another portal that punishes your positioning. Since we want to be in a line for Zeeks, we can only place the flag next to Garen and Darius, meaning only 2 of our units get the bonus attack speed and shield. This isn't too bad, but puts you at a disadvantage against comps that can clump around it. House Lightshield is ironically one of the worst portals for Garen, as you have no good holder for the crown item. Ornn's Forge is either amazing or terrible depending on whether or not your Ornn Anvil gives you a Death's Defiance. Best give it on stage 2-5. If you don't hit it, I would suggest pivoting or rolling the Ornn item until you get a Death's Defiance, which might put you at a serious disadvantage. Maris Magnum isn't great, as this comp doesn't take advantage of the +2 team size nearly as well as other comps do. Finally, Stillwater Hold is of course the worst, as the comp is unplayable without the Pandora's items augment. Let's start with the early game. As soon as you take Pandora's, check your first set of items. You're looking for these component combinations: Bow and Rod for Rageblade, Sword and Belt for Zeeks, and Sword and Cloak for BT. If you get any of these combinations, slam them together and place it on either a unit on your field or your bench. With Pandora's, at the start of every round, your components and items on the bench reroll. If you want to save an item, you can place the component on either a unit on your field or one on your bench, as these won't reroll with Pandora's. Then, at the start of the next round, if you get a good item combo, make that item on your temporary unit, sell it, and then place that item on your board. This works for both components and full items. If you hit an early sword, save it between rounds as you keep rolling items until you find either a belt or cloak. Place Zeeks on your temporary carries as well, looking to hopefully have Rageblade and 1 Zeeks by the end of the stage. For every carousel, if there's a spatula, immediately go for it to craft a Juggernaut emblem. Next, take any Garens or Dariuses on the carousel. If none of these apply, take the highest cost unit on the carousel to sell for more money. This comp always wants to take a 5-loss streak into neutrals since we're greeting for perfect items and our opener is pretty weak. There are 2 styles to play for a loss streak. First is the full open, which is where you don't place items and play weak or no units in order to ensure losses. Place any items you don't end up making on units on your bench and hold them there instead. Alternatively, you can play for minimal losses by placing items and playing strong units in order to kill as many units as possible without actually winning, maintaining a 5-loss streak and higher HP. This is most optimal, but is also riskier and more difficult to pull off, so if you're a beginner, I'd suggest full opening. The only units you need to hold on to are Juggernauts. Throughout the early game, scout your opponents to see who is loss streaking and make sure your board will lose to theirs. Also, check to see if anyone looks like they're going to contest you on rerolling Garen. You can assert your dominance by announcing "Me Spin Guy" in the chat, then promptly muting everyone. Throughout this next stage, prioritize having both Rageblade and Bloodthirster slammed ready for Garen. Level to 5 on 3-1, and play any Juggernauts you have for a chance at a Juggernaut Augment. Play for a light loss, go to 6 on 3-2. If you took light losses and you're not too low on HP, keep that up until level 7 at 4-1. If you took hard losses and are around 60 HP or below, roll down to 30 gold on 3-2 until you 2-star your item holder and a few units, picking up Juggernauts and Demacians along the way. In either of these strategies, as soon as you hit Garen 2 with 4 Juggernaut and 3 Demacia in, you can switch to win streaking. Move your BT and Rageblade to Garen to make him the elite, and build up your board with Zeeks on Darius. Garen 1 is very weak, but Garen 2 can easily take you to 10 or more wins in a row. At 4-1, level to 7 and roll down to 50 gold. If you don't have Garen 2 and a few upgraded Juggernauts yet, roll until you hit it, as you need to save HP. After that, econ back up to 50 gold and then slow roll or roll until you have 50 gold left each turn. Play this board, or this board with Emblem, throughout the mid to late game, crafting more Zeeks until you hit Garen 3. While you roll, complete Set and Works 2-star and don't buy any more copies as they're not worth it to keep. Darius is however worth it to 3-star if you get a lot, but if you need the money you can sell them as well. Pick up and fill in any copies of Nasus, Aatrox, URGOT, and Heimerdinger you find along the way. You can swap Set out for Aatrox in the 4 Juggernaut board and bring him back in for 6. Once you finally hit Garen 3, congratulations, you just made it to top 4. Level to 8 and complete those capped boards I talked about earlier in the video. Positioning for this comp is very minimal, as we always want to be in a line for maximum Zeke's value. You can place him on the same side as the enemy carry, as after shredding the front line he will move on to the enemy backline carry first, cutting off their damage source. You can do this easily by moving each of your units in the conga line 1 space to the left or right respectively. The other 2 things to watch out for are Zephyr and Cassante. While Garen getting Zephyred usually isn't too much trouble, the damage loss from Garen could make a difference. The real threat is Cassante, who is the Garen Slayer. Cassante's ability lets him knock back a target far away. If the target is against a wall, it instead knocks them out of the fight. Usually a unit that gets knocked back can just walk away from danger. However, Garen gets stuck on Cassante and spins, and if Cassante casts again, Garen gets hit with the Riot Game special. Use the line technique by 1 or 2 hexes to give yourself a better chance of dodging both Zephyr and Cassante each round. If you find yourself directly contested for Garen Reroll, there are 3 main options. If there's only one contester and you have more Garens, you can choose to hold fast and outlive them, using the stability of Garen 2 to instead push to level 8. Then when they pivot off or die, you can start rolling for more Garens. Another option is to use the momentum from Garen 2 to pivot to a level 8 board that uses Rageblade, Bloodthirster, and Zeeks. Examples of this include URGOT Aphelios and Challenger Juggernauts. Or pivot to the surrender button. That's all for today's guide. If you learned anything and you're interested in more, please hit that subscribe button, as I've got plenty more educational content and a VOD review of this comp coming your way. My first ever video, 5 comps you should know for set 9, got 9,000 views in 2 days, and the amount of support I've been receiving is amazing. So I just wanted to thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions, let me know in the comments below. Alright, that's enough from me. Get out there, get this comp hotfixed already, and climb on.